Greetings, seekers of serenity, and welcome to Stillness Unfolded. Picture a weary soul, his shoulders bowed beneath a sack of stones, each one a tie, a memory, a bond he's carried through 1,000 sun-scorched days and twilight's hush. For years, he believed this weight was his strength, until one day, beneath the gnarled embrace of an ancient banyan tree, a sage with eyes like fathomless seas posed a question that changed everything. Why cling to this burden? It's all I've known, the traveler stammered. With a smile soft as falling leaves, the sage whispered, "Then release it." As the stone slipped free, a miracle unfolded. Not just his body, but his spirit soared, unshackled at last. This, dear friends, is the secret I'm unveiling today, why letting go after 70 unlocks a peace deeper than you've ever dreamed, rooted in Buddhist wisdom too powerful to stay hidden. What if the key to true calm isn't in the hands you hold, but in the ones you set free? Society insists happiness thrives in crowds, yet the Buddha, in his boundless clarity, revealed a hidden truth: you must become the path to walk it. Today, I'm sharing 6 Buddhist secrets, lanterns of story and insight to light your way to stillness after 70. This video brims with revelations you won't want to miss, so stay till the end to uncover them all. If this stirs you, hit that like button, subscribe to Stillness Unfolded, and drop your thoughts below. Your voice helps us weave more tales like this. Let's step into these mysteries together. Trust me, what lies ahead will shift the way you see everything. 1. The mirror of self-worth. Long ago, in a bustling village nestled between shimmering rice fields and lotus ponds kissed by the dawn, there lived a man named Kavi. His life had once been a tapestry woven with the threads of others' approval. As a young merchant, he traded not just in goods but in smiles, hosting lavish feasts where the air rang with laughter and the clink of cups. His home was a hive of voices, a sanctuary of praise that he believed defined his worth. Yet, as the years painted his hair silver and slowed his eager steps, the tide of companionship receded. The invitations that once piled like autumn leaves grew scarce, and the doors he knocked upon remained shut. At first, Kavi chased those fading echoes, his heart heavy with the silence that followed. One twilight, as he sat by the river's edge, watching lotus petals drift downstream like fleeting dreams, a monk in saffron robes paused beside him. "Why do you grieve, my friend?" the monk asked, his voice a ripple on the still water. "I am alone," Kavi murmured, eyes tracing the petals' dance. The monk gestured to the river. "See how it flows, unburdened by what it releases? So too must you flow, free from the gaze of others." That night, Kavi returned home, lit a single lamp, and sat in its humble glow. For the first time, he saw not the merchant others admired, but the man he truly was: a quiet soul, whole and unbroken. And in that stillness, a smile bloomed. After 70, the need to prove ourselves fades like mist dissolving under the sun's gentle touch. The Buddha taught that clinging to external validation is a fetter, a chain forged of illusion that binds us to suffering. "Seek not peace beyond yourself," he counseled, "for it resides within." I've witnessed this truth unfold in my own years. There was a woman I knew, Lila, a teacher whose youth was spent gathering friends like precious jewels, each one a mirror to her worth. But as age crept in, those mirrors cracked, and she wandered lost amid the shards. One day, Strolling through a forest, she paused to watch a deer grazing alone, its serenity untouched by solitude. "Why do I need others to affirm my light?" she pondered. From that moment, she turned inward, penning thoughts, tending flowers, sitting in meditation, and unearthed a joy no throng could rival. If the sting of fading ties pricks your heart, pause and reflect. Have you ever gazed into the mirror of your own being, unshaded by another's light? Share your journey below. I'd love to hear how you found peace in your own quiet presence. 2. The weight of the stones. In a distant land, where the earth unfurled beneath a boundless sky like a scroll of endless dreams, there lived a farmer named Taro. Each dawn, as the first light brushed the dew-kissed fields, he set forth, a sack of stones slung over his shoulder, their weight as familiar as the rhythm of his breath. Day after day, he trudged through the furrows, the clatter of pebbles against his back a silent hymn to routine. His hands, calloused and steady, had long ceased to question the burden. It was simply the way of things, a companion woven into the fabric of his existence. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting golden threads across the land, a wandering monk in tattered robes crossed his path. The monk's eyes, deep pools of quiet knowing, stirred Taro's stillness. "Why do you bear this load?" the monk asked, his voice soft as a breeze weaving through the reeds. Taro shrugged, a cloud of dust rising from his worn sandals. "It's what I've always done," he replied, his words heavy with the certainty of habit. The monk knelt, his fingers tracing the earth, and lifted a single stone from the sack. With a gentle flick, he cast it into the river nearby, where it sank with a ripple that shimmered like a fleeting sigh. "Does the river crave it?" he asked, turning to Taro. The farmer shook his head, brow furrowed in puzzlement. "Then why do you?" That night, beneath a crescent moon that hung like a lantern in the velvet dark, Taro stood by the water's edge. One by one, he emptied his sack, watching the stones vanish into the earth's embrace. As the last one fell, a lightness surged within him, as if his spirit had shed a cloak of shadow, long draped over his soul. Friendships, too, can become such stones, burdens we hoist not for joy, but for the solace of what we've always known. I've walked this weary path myself, my feet once eager on the trails of youth. In those days, I filled my hours with gatherings, mistaking the hum of voices for life's beating heart. Laughter rang like temple bells, a chorus I thought I needed to soothe my restless spirit. Friends crowded my table, their tales a balm, their presence a shield against the quiet I feared. But as I stepped into the twilight of my years, a heaviness settled deep within my bones, subtle yet unyielding. Conversations that once lit sparks of delight now drained me like a riverbed gone dry. Invitations, once treasures, morphed into duties I carried with a sigh. One evening, after a dinner drowned in idle gossip that echoed hollow in my ears, I sat alone, the silence pressing against me like an old friend returned. "Why do I bear this weight?" I asked the stillness, my voice a whisper in the dark. The Buddha's wisdom rose like a tide within me. Silence is the dwelling of the awakened mind. So I began to release, not with the bitterness of a storm, but with a bow of gratitude for what had once warmed my days. I traded crowded halls for the tender embrace of dawn, sipping tea as the sun spilled gold across the sky, the bird's song weaving a new companionship. Peace, I came to see, is not stolen from others but offered to oneself, a sacred gift born of letting go. Have you ever felt the freedom of setting down a load you didn't know you carried? Tell me in the comments, what stone have you released to reclaim the calm that waits within you? 3. The fading lanterns. Once, atop a mountain village cradled by veils of mist and the whispering arms of ancient pines, there lived a woman named Suri. Her home perched like a quiet sentinel overlooking the valley, and along her weathered porch, she tended a row of lanterns, each one a glowing ember of memory, a radiant emblem of a friend who had once lit the shadowed corners of her days. With hands steady and tender, she polished their glass, coaxing their flames to dance like stars tethered to her world. To Suri, they were more than light, they were a constellation of her life's warmth, a tapestry of voices and shared silences that had shaped her years. But as the seasons spun their ceaseless wheel, the winds grew sharp and cold. Some lanterns dimmed, their wicks faltering under time's gentle breath, others shattered in sudden gusts, their fragments glinting like fallen tears on the wooden boards. Suri's heart ached with each loss, and her tears fell like rain upon the splintered glass, a quiet lament for the glow that had slipped beyond her grasp. One dusk, as the sky bled crimson and gold, a traveler cloaked in dust paused at her gate, drawn by the soft sound of her sorrow. "Why mourn what fades?" he asked, his voice a thread of compassion woven through the evening hush. Clutching a broken frame, its jagged edges biting into her palm, Suri whispered, "These were my light." The traveler lifted his gaze to the heavens, where stars pierced the deepening dark. "The stars fade too," he said, "yet the night shines on, vast and unbroken." Suri followed his eyes, her breath catching as she glimpsed a radiance born not of flame, but of the stillness that stretched beyond. In that moment, she set the broken lanterns aside, their weight falling from her hands like leaves from a weary branch. Her heart, once tethered to their flickering glow, grew light as the mountain air, buoyant with a peace she had not known. By 70, we've stood witness as friendships flicker and fade, some extinguished by our own choosing, others stolen by time's silent hand. The Buddha taught, "Let go or be dragged," a solemn reminder that to cling to what no longer serves us is to deepen the scars we carry. I recall a poet I once knew, Arun, whose soul was a cage of longing, bound to companions who had drifted like smoke on the wind. He poured his heart into letters that gathered dust, dialed numbers that rang into the void, each unanswered call a barb in his spirit. One afternoon, as he sat by a river's edge, watching leaves surrender to the current's pull, a truth broke through his silence. "They've gone," he murmured, "yet I remain." In that whispered awakening, he chose to tend the few bonds that still kindled warmth within him, releasing the rest like leaves to the stream's embrace. Fewer friendships, I've come to see, mean fewer wounds, not because others fail us, but because we cease demanding they complete what is already whole. Impermanence, the Dharma's ancient song, is not a thief but a liberator, freeing us from chains we wove ourselves. When last did you let a fading light drift free, unburdening your soul? Share your tale below. I am eager to hear how that release unshackled the peace that dwells within you. 4. The hourglass of moments. In a quiet valley, where emerald hills leaned close to whisper secrets to the wind, there lived an elder named Jin. Once, his laughter had been the heartbeat of every festival, a melody that danced through the throng as his feet, tireless and swift, wove through the revelry. The village knew him as the man who never missed a song, whose voice rose with the drums and whose spirit seemed to defy the weight of years. But as time bent his knees and softened his breath into faint sighs, the clamor that once fueled him began to weary his bones. One morning, as the sun spilled golden threads across the dew-laden grass, Jin wandered to a stream that carved its gentle path through the valley. He knelt, dipping his hands into the cool water, watching it slip through his fingers like grains of sand from an unseen hourglass. "Time is this," he mused, his voice a murmur lost to the breeze, ever flowing, never held, a river that carries all things away. From that day, he turned from the crowds, their noise fading like echoes in a distant hollow. Instead, he chose to sit beneath the vast sky, painting its fleeting hues crimson at dusk, violet at dawn, or to rest in the shade of ancient oaks, listening to the wind's soft hymn as it rustled through the leaves. When a friend, puzzled by his absence, sought him out one twilight, Jin met her with a smile, his eyes crinkling with the quiet knowing of one who had seen beyond the veil. "My hourglass runs low," he said, his words steady as the stream. "Why spill its sand on what dims my flame?" From then on, his days became a canvas of quiet purpose, each stroke of his brush, each moment of stillness, a testament to time's fleeting grace, a treasure he held close in the twilight of his life. After 70, time transforms into a jewel we dare not cast aside, its facets gleaming with a brilliance that grows sharper as the years dwindle. The Buddha warned, "The trouble is, you think you have time," a piercing truth that cuts through the illusion of endless tomorrows. I've felt this shift deep in my own marrow, a trembling awakening that reshaped my days. Once, I bowed to every call, every summons, my heart racing with the fear that to miss a moment was to miss life's thread. Gatherings filled my hours, their voices a net I thought would hold me fast. But one evening, after a gathering that left me hollow, a chorus of chatter that echoed without meaning, a realization dawned like a lantern lit in the dark. The fourth thing silently revealing time's worth is how you choose to cradle it, something so familiar you might not feel its weight until it slips through your grasp like sand through parted fingers. Now, I guard my hours as a monk guards his prayer, a sacred vigil over what remains. I fill them with what stirs my soul, scribbling tales beneath a canopy of starlight, tracing paths where trees murmur ancient secrets in their rustling tongues. If this echoes within you, try this. Dedicate one afternoon to what feeds your spirit, perhaps a brush on canvas, a walk in silence, a moment with your own breath, then tell me how it felt in the comments. Time bends to your will, a fragile dance waiting for your step. How will you shape its fleeting rhythm? 5. The companion within. Deep within a forest hermitage, where shadows wove intricate tales with the leaves and the air hummed with the breath of ancient trees, lived a widow named Maya. After her husband's passing, the silence that settled over her small dwelling felt like a tide threatening to drown her. She fled its grasp, seeking solace in every passing face, traders at the market, children by the well, neighbors with their fleeting greetings. Her days brimmed with chatter, a fragile shield she raised against the quiet she feared would swallow her whole, leaving nothing but echoes of a life once shared. She moved through the world like a moth drawn to flame, chasing the warmth of voices to fend off the chill within. But one stormy night, as rain lashed the thatched roof and thunder growled like a beast prowling the dark, Maya found herself alone, the world beyond her door sealed by the tempest's fury. A single lamp flickered on her table, its trembling light casting shadows that danced like spirits across the walls. In that fragile glow, a whisper rose not from the howling wind or the rain's relentless drum, but from the depths of her being, soft as a sigh carried on a breeze. "You are enough," it said, a voice so tender it stilled her trembling hands. "Who speaks?" she asked, her voice quivering as she peered into the dimness. The silence answered, vast and gentle, "You do." In that moment, the storm outside faded, and Maya felt a presence not of another, but of herself, steady and whole. From that night, she walked her path alone yet unlonely, her heart unfolding as a companion truer than any crowd could offer. The Buddha's words echoed within her like a melody long forgotten, "Be still, and you will hear the universe's song," and in the stillness, she found not emptiness, but a harmony that sang her name. I, too, have tasted this revelation, a quiet awakening that reshaped the contours of my soul. For years, I shrank from solitude, deeming it a chasm I must bridge with noise, conversations, laughter, the clatter of life to drown the silence I mistook for loss. But at 70, I discovered it was no void, but a garden waiting to be nurtured, its blooms hidden beneath the rush I'd clung to. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, I sat cradling a book and a steaming cup of tea, the world beyond my window hushed. In that stillness, a warmth rose within me, a glow no gathering could rival, as if my spirit had lit a lantern I'd long overlooked. True companionship, I learned, lies not in bodies pressed close or voices overlapping, but in the peace we harbor within, a quiet flame that needs no other to burn bright. Loneliness is but a phantom, a shadow cast by fear. Solitude is a lantern, guiding us to the friend we've always carried. If this stirs a question in you, grant yourself a day no clamor, no screens, just you and the whisper of your thoughts. What bloomed in that quiet garden? Share it below. I'd love to hear how you met the companion who dwells within your silence. 6. The Wings of Freedom. In a coastal town, where restless waves sang lullabies to the shore and the horizon stretched like a promise unbound, lived an old fisherman named Riku. In his prime, he had been a son of the sea, sailing with a crew whose voices rose like gulls over the churning waters, their songs a chorus that tethered him to life's wild pulse. His hands, then strong and sure, gripped the oars as if they could hold back time itself, and his laughter mingled with the salt spray, a testament to days that felt eternal. But as the years weathered his bones and his hands grew frail, trembling against the ropes, he lingered ashore, his boat resting silent on the sand. Yet still, he clung to every gathering, every raucous feast, fearing that without the echo of their voices he would vanish into the mist, a shadow forgotten by the tide. One night, as the moon hung low and the tide retreated with a sigh, Riku stood alone on the shore, the sea's breath cool against his weathered skin. Above, a lone gull carved the sky, its wings cutting through the dark, unshackled by the flock that had long since flown. "Why do I bind myself?" he wondered, the question rippling through his soul like waves against a hidden reef. The next day, when the town buzzed with the promise of a feast, Riku turned away, his steps steady as he sought the sea's embrace instead. He sat by the water's edge, the salt air weaving through his silver hair, a balm that soothed a spirit long tethered to others' calls. For the first time, he felt free, not apart from the world, but alive for himself, his heart beating in rhythm with the tide. The Buddha's voice hummed in his ears, a whisper carried on the wind, "You lose only what you grasp," and in that moment, Riku understood the chains he had feared were ones he had forged. Age bestows this rare treasure, freedom born of surrender, a gift that unfurls as the years grow short. I've tasted this truth in my own journey, a revelation that broke through the clamor of my past. Once, I crowded my days with voices, believing their clamor carved my place in the tapestry of life. Each laugh, each shared tale, I hoarded like a fisherman netting the sea, certain that silence would erase me. But one dawn, as the sky blushed with the tender promise of light, I stood beneath its glow and released the need to be heard. The weight fell away, soft as petals from a fading bloom, and I stepped into a new rhythm. Now, my mornings unfold in stillness, a quiet dance with the rising sun, my evenings hum with the peace of my own breath, and my heart brims full, unburdened by the need for others' echoes. Letting go is not a fall into shadow, but a flight on wings long folded. If you feel the stir of this freedom, try this: shed one duty this week, a call you dread, a gathering that dims your light, and feel the lift that follows. Tell me how it soars in the comments. I am eager to know the wings you've unfurled in your own quiet sky. Beyond 70, life turns into a temple of stillness, where peace, not people, unlocks joy. You've faced storms and sunlit days, watched friends fade. Now, what stirs your soul? Not yesterday's echoes, but today's truth. The rustle of leaves, ink on paper, a meditative breath. Are you ready to shed burdens and meet yourself as your truest friend? Solitude isn't a cage, it's a sky to soar. The Buddha taught, "Be your own light," and it's within you, waiting. Did you catch every gem in this video? Like it, subscribe to Stillness Unfolded, and share with someone seeking peace. Your comments below fuel our growth. Tell me what moved you. Thank you for joining me. May your path be gentle and bright. See you soon.